We're just going to give a second to let everyone come in from the waiting room. Please make sure you're muted as you enter. Just give it a couple more seconds. All right. Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the Boston Cannabis Board, the BCB. Today is December 7th, 2022. Today's hearing is being conducted pursuant to certain temporary amendments to the open meeting law. This is what allows us to meet virtually. This hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review some procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I am Chair of the Boston Cannabis Board, and today I am pleased to be joined by Commissioner Lisa Holmes, Commissioner Darlene Lombos, Commissioner John Smith.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce. My name is Jasmine Nguyen, and I am the Boston Cannabis Board Manager. We are also joined by Allison Quinn, who is the Project Manager for the BCB. Today, we are holding both a violation and transactional hearing. We will begin with the violation hearing first. I will call each item in the order it appears on the agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any individuals with knowledge of the alleged incident. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record. The licensee or the representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions from the chairwoman and the commissioners. Again, all testimony will be limited to individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident. The first item we have is Patriot Care Corp. DBA Cannabis. The license premise is 21 Milk Street, Boston, Mass. The license type is a co-located marijuana retail and medical license. The date of the incident was October 10th, 2022. The alleged incident is as follows. Customer robbery outside of premise in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 94G, Section 4, and Board's Rules 3.01 and 3.06D. Also, the sale of pre-rolled cannabis products in violation of Board's Rule 1.01B and conditions on the licensee's recreational license. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Yes, good afternoon. I am Matthew Balte from the Foley Hoag Law Firm here in Boston. I'm joined by my partner, Kevin Conroy. We represent Patriot Care in this matter. We do have witnesses available today on the call. Dan Delaney is present. He is Patriot Care's government relations consultant and has been since 2013. We also have Rachel Livingston on today. She is the Patriot Care employee. She's been with Patriot Care for 7 years. She attended to the patient at issue on October 10. And we also have Alan Narori, the Patriot Care Regional Security Manager. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Joyce.
Yep.
Commissioners.
Yes. We're just introducing who's all on the call first. You'll have your chance to speak once.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Good morning, Sergeant Detective Charles Salucci. I work at Area A1.
Lieutenant Detective Adrian Troy.
Detective Eddie Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident that would like to testify?
We also have Haley DeLima, our general manager, if needed. I do not anticipate at this time to call her.
Okay. If you all can raise your right hand. You too, Attorney Bolton. Anyone who's testifying, please raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report from the police department?
I will. Sergeant Detective Salucci, about 12 p.m. on October 10th, 2022, Officer Erb responded to a radio call for a robbery at 21 Milk Street, Cannabis, Boston. On arrival, he met with the victim. The victim said he bought 2 pre-rolls valued at $20, 1 bag of edibles valued at $80, and a hash valued at $50, totaling $190. When leaving the marijuana shop, he was physically assaulted at Milk Street and Arch Street by 3 males, all around high school age. First suspect is described as a tall white male in all black. Second is a short black male wearing a black coat, ski mask, and red shoes. And the third described as a short Hispanic male wearing all black. The victim stated suspects grabbed his shopping bag, causing it to fall to the ground, and the suspects grabbed all his products and fled in different directions. The cannabis shop was nice enough to reimburse him of all his products, and the officer asked the victim if he needed medical attention, which he stated he did not. On Wednesday, October 12th, Lieutenant Detective Troy and Detective Eddie Hernandez responded to the cannabis shop and issued a license premise violation as a result of the incident. Detective Miles Lawton was assigned to the incident. He collected some video of the 3 suspects, disseminated them, and we have not identified those 3 suspects to this date. That's all I have.
Thank you. Attorney Bolte, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you, and I'll try to be very brief. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Joyce, Commissioners Holmes, Lombos, and Smith, Manager Wynn, and Project Manager Quinn. Patriot Care, first and foremost, appreciates the opportunity to be heard today. We fully appreciate the work of this board and are fully committed to being and remaining in full compliance. We're here on 2 issues, as just stated: sale of pre-rolls and an ensuing robbery. To protect the privacy of the patient, we've redacted his name from our presentation. His initials are SD. He's a middle-aged white male. We will refer to him today just as the patient. We confirm he's the same person referenced in the police report. So starting with the pre-roll issue, there's a condition in Patriot Care's Milk Street location license prohibiting the sale of pre-roll cannabis products, but it's only on the recreational adult use side. Very briefly, the history is as follows. In 2020, Patriot Care worked directly with the Downtown Boston Business Improvement District, the BID, to find ways to obtain the adult use license with conditions that would be acceptable to the BID. The BID was and is extremely supportive of Patriot Care. BID was concerned, however, that there would be recreational adult use smoking outside the Milk Street facility. So accordingly, conditions were imposed restricting recreational sales to a minimum of $35 and a restriction that no pre-rolls would be sold on the adult use recreational side. BID has no concern and had no concern about pre-roll sales on the medical side. The licensure matter came before this board on September 16 of 2020. And we have reviewed the public hearing recording. And when this license was presented, then Executive Secretary Leslie Delaney Hawkins presented the no pre-roll condition to the board and the other conditions with the clear statement that, and this is right out of the recording, it's at 1:10, 53 seconds of the public recording. She said, as she was presenting this to the board, I want to make clear, and the BID has made clear, that these conditions are for the recreational piece only and not to apply to the medical piece, end quote. The official voting hearing minutes of this board from the September 16, 2020 hearing expressly make clear that the no pre-roll condition is, quote, applicable to recreational, not medical. And that we've attached, Chairwoman and Commissioners, as Exhibit 3 to our hearing slides. Again, that is this board's minutes from the vote that state exactly that. And then a license was issued restricting the no pre-roll conditions only to the adult recreational use. And the license is at Exhibit 4. We have Dan Delaney, who oversaw this process. He was present at the September 16, 2020 hearing. He reviewed the recording of that hearing today. Mr. Delaney, rather than have you repeat the testimony, did I just accurately recite your firsthand testimony?
Yes, you did.
All right, thank you. So we submit that the restriction is only on the adult use side, not the medical side. Now, next, I want to move into the October 10, 2022 events. The patient at issue entered Patriot Care, he entered through the medical entrance. There's separate entrances for medical and adult use. The medical entrance is on Milk Street, where the canopy is. He presented his medical use patient card and his driver's license at the entry point. Both were verified within the system, and he is, in fact, a registered medical patient with a valid Massachusetts medical card. He was directed upstairs to the medical dispensary, which has a separate entrance. He was directed to medical dispensary counter 3. This is medical only. At 11:38 a.m., he came to counter 3, which was staffed by Rachel Livingston, who is present today. Ms. Livingston has been with Patriot Care for 7 years. She checked his medical card and ID, dispensed him the materials that he had requested. His purchase is recorded by Rachel Livingston in the receipt, which we have attached to our hearing slides at slide 11. That shows the actual receipt. That shows that it was a medical sale at register 3. Pre-rolls are dispensed to medical patients because they're desirable for medical patients, many of whom have arthritis and are unable to roll their own, and therefore the pre-rolls are very useful. Pre-rolls are never sold on the recreational or adult use side at Patriot Care at this location. Employees are so directed, and pre-rolls are not located or available in the recreational adult use side. And the registers at the adult use side will not allow pre-rolls to be scanned and sold. Rachel Livingston, did I accurately state your firsthand testimony just now?
Yes, you did.
All right, thank you, Ms. Livingston. So we submit to this honorable board that there was no violation of the recreational adult use no pre-roll condition. Again, the pre-rolls were sold to a medical patient with a valid medical card, and that is permitted under the licensure and the conditions set by this board on September 16, 2020. Now I'd like to turn to the robbery point. So Patriot Care has a comprehensive security plan in place that has been approved by this board and the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission. It is attached to our hearing slides at Exhibit 2. Patriot Care's security program is robust and effective. Patriot Care has 6 exterior cameras. It monitors outside for loitering. It installed security lighting on the Hawley Street side. It has 4 security guards, which is above and beyond what is required, who periodically exit the premise to monitor matters. We have reviewed the security video surveillance from October 10. The footage shows the medical patient leaving the medical side of the facility in broad daylight. The surveillance footage shows he's not being followed and all appears safe. There has never been a robbery of this sort before at this location, and we're not aware of any complaints of this sort. Nor in the 6 years that Patriot Care has been operating are there any incidents of found violations or security issues of this sort. The patient proceeded as Officer Salucci recited, down Milk Street, 2 streets down. We have a photograph of this at slide 14 of our presentation, 2 blocks down. And the patient was accosted by 3 young males at Milk and Art Street, 2 streets down on Milk Street. So we submit on the safety piece to this board that there were no violations. The premises are eminently safe. We're not aware of any incidences like this before. The robbery occurred 2 streets down. And it's just not a safety issue at the premises, which we submit is a very safe premises as demonstrated by the security plan and by the fact that there's never been an incident like this or any incident that we're aware of in the 6 years of history. I'd like to ask Alan Narori, who is the regional head of security, if I accurately stated your firsthand testimony.
Yes, sir, you did.
So we respectfully submit to the board. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. We respectfully submit that there was no violation of either sort, and we're happy to answer any follow-up questions, but we would respectfully ask the board to find no violations on either or both counts. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Bolte. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Thanks, Jasmine. I have no questions at this time.
Commissioner Holmes, do you have any questions?
Not at this time. No, thank you.
Commissioner Lagos? Commissioner Smith?
Thanks, Jasmine. No, I don't.
All right. Seeing that the commissioners have no questions, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you. Moving on to our transactional hearing. I will call each item in the order it appears on the agenda. I will ask who is present on behalf of the proposal before us. The first item on the transactional agenda is an amendment to an already approved establishment. So they will have 5 minutes to present to the BCB, and then we will proceed with the new license application in which they will have 10 minutes to present to the BCB, followed by questions from the board members. We will then take public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representatives, followed by the general public. If you wish to testify, please sign up via the chat, the link that will be put in the chat. If you have already signed up, you do not have to do it again. Additionally, you may use the chat function to request to testify as well. Please wait until the matter in which you would like to speak about is called. Do not use the chat function to give testimony. It will not be considered. Please state your full name, address, and affiliation, if any, when testifying. Testimony will be limited to 2 minutes, at which time you will be muted. Additional testimony may be submitted in writing to cannabisboard@boston.gov. The record will be kept open until Tuesday, December 13th at 5 p.m. The BCB does not give any more weight to spoken testimony than it does written testimony. Our first item is Mash Greenwoods LLC. The license premise is 116 Harvard Ave, Alston. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license. The request is for a change in ownership interest and also to change the DBA from MUSE to Prolific. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Eric Lawrence, 26 Woodbine Street, Roxbury, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Again, you will have 5 minutes to present. You may begin.
Yes, today we're proposing an ownership change. I will maintain a 56% ownership and 44% will be given to our investor, Sohail Halani, investor partner. Yeah, I carried this location until we had secured an HCA, and as you know, it takes between $1 million and $2 million to open these locations. So I took on an investor, and we're simply want to execute the ownership change today. Regarding the name change, through due diligence on the Muse name, we discovered through trademark research that TrueLeaf, another cannabis company, uses Muse as one of its for one of its products. We reached out to them to see if they would mind us using the name as a retail location, and never got a response. So we accepted that as they were not in agreement to it.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks, Mr. Lawrence. I don't have any questions at this time.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Wobbles? Commissioner Smith?
Thanks, Jasmine, no.
Alright. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of this proposal? Seeing no one, the board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then we'll move on to our new license application proposal. The applicant is Bay State Herbal Solutions LLC. The proposed license premise is 464 Hanover Street, Unit A, North End. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license. The proposed hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week, and temporary closing times to be determined with local school drop-off pickup. This is an equity applicant. The date of the initial application was January 24th, 2022. The date of filing with Inspection Services was July 5th, 2022, and the community meeting was held on September 28th, 2022. Before we begin with the presentation, I will ask Shakia Scott, who is the Cannabis Business Manager from the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, to speak on behalf of the equity certification.
Thank you, Jasmine. Good afternoon, everyone. Our office was able to certify Bay State Herbal Solutions as an equity applicant through the documentation submitted by the applicant. Liam Bennett is the CEO and 51% beneficial interest holder of Bay State Herbal Solutions, meeting the 51% ownership interest threshold set forth in the ordinance. Mr. Bennett meets the additional following criteria. He meets the criteria of residing in Boston for at least the past 7 years. Mr. Bennett submitted copies of utility bills, lease agreements, and financial statements that verify his Boston address in Brighton from at least 2015. Mr. Bennett meets the criteria of a person whose household income is at or below 100% of the area median income. Mr. Bennett submitted his 2021 tax returns, which shows he earned less than 100% of the area median income of Boston. Finally, Mr. Bennett meets the criteria of a person who has been certified by the Cannabis Control Commission as an economic empowerment applicant or social equity applicant, and is a resident of Boston for at least one of the last 3 years. Mr. Bennett was certified as a social equity applicant by the CCC in March 2020 and has lived in the city of Boston since at least 2015. Are there any additional questions about the certification?
Thank you, Shakia. All right, who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Board, Chairwoman, Ms. Nguyen. This is Shane Darcy. I am the Compliance Specialist for Bay State Herbal Solutions. My address currently is 279 Langdon Street, Providence, Rhode Island.
Thank you. You'll have to, oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want us all to introduce ourselves? Shane's going to present, but if there's any questions and questions later, myself, Tiffany Isom, I will be present as well. Corinne, our attorney, is here, as well as Liam and Malik, the principals of the entity as well. And Edwin Pivenger's here for staffing. We have Johanny Viciano for community outreach. And then we also have Alan Engineer here, as well as the surveyors who helped us with the distance, if anything arises after the presentation.
Perfect. And Liam, you said Liam's on, because since he's the applicant.
Yes. Liam's right there in the blue moon. He's, yeah.
Got it. Okay. I couldn't. All right, perfect. Okay, you have 10 minutes to present. You may share your screen and begin.
Thank you very much. I just want to make sure everybody can see the screen for the presentation. Can everybody see the screen?
Yep, perfect.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's begin. Again, thank you for the time and your attention to this matter and our business proposal. As was said, Bay State Herbal Solutions is a proposed marijuana retail establishment located at 464 Hanover Street in Boston. The co-owner and co-founder, Liam Bennett, is a Boston Equity as well as certified by the CCC as a Mass Social Equity. Bay State Herbal Solutions proposed hours is again 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. with temporary closing times during school drop-off and pickup hours. This is the structure of the company. Again, Liam Bennett's the CEO. John Terry is the Chief Security Officer. Myself, I'm the Compliance Advisor. As you just met, Tiffany Eisen is the Project Manager. We do have Mr. Dave Olivelli as the Chief of Staff and Mr. Dave Mellon as our Labor Management Liaison. Malik Hyatt is the COO of the company. And again, Johanny Viciana is our Community Outreach and Edward Pivinger is our Chief of Training. Our Diversity and Equity Inclusion Plan will extend to both to licenses to provide employment, retention, and promotional paths to individuals from diverse backgrounds. We want to promote this to our vendors that we extend to and people we do business with. We're going to use our social media and website platforms to promote these transparently. We're also going to work with community groups. As you'll see in the presentation, we have partnered with community groups in the local area to provide assistance and support in our efforts. We will make every attempt to hire and retain the following goals. 50% of our workforce hopefully will be women. 30% of our workforce will be people of color, particularly Black, Latin American, Hispanic, Latinx, and Indigenous people. 10% of our workforce hopes to be veterans from the United States military. 5% of our workforce will identify as LGBTQ plus members, and 10% of our workforce are people defined by the commission as with disabilities. Bay State will also provide the following to ensure our company culture and structure is inclusive to employees and retention efforts, competitive living wage and benefits packages, prioritize of Boston residents with hiring positions, clear and inclusive paths to promotion and clear career development, Corey-friendly employment opportunities when available, full and part-time employment opportunities for flexible working times, in-house training and career development, in-house promotion commitments, potential subsidized transport to and from work, referral incentives and demographic goals, and welcoming and inclusive employee feedback, encouraging different perspectives. Bay State Herbal Solutions will gather employee demographic data and monitor diversity goals, also meet monthly and report to our leadership on progress. Bay State will strategize improvements or other procedures to attract diverse talent and goals. Bay State will encourage organizations monthly to recruit and provide employment and training resources. Our labor management team, which Mr. Dave Mellon is the head of, will meet monthly to determine if recruitment efforts yield positive results, and data will be sent to Bay State leadership and strategies will be updated on our success rate. And after 1 year of implementing each plan, Bay State will thoroughly review each program to measure our success rates. If program implementations do not meet our stated goals, we may recommend eliminating the program and developing a new extending program for another year. If a program fails for 2 straight years, the policy will expire and Bay State will commit to creating a new program to meet our goals. Bay State Herbal Solutions has chosen, I have to move that, 464 Hanover Street for our proposed marijuana establishment due to its deep embedded culture and optimal revenue generating business location. 464 Hanover Street is not within 0.5 mile distance of another marijuana establishment, and it meets all 500 feet buffer zone requirements. 464 Hanover Street is easily accessible by means of public transportation and has street parking on both sides. Bay State Herbal Solutions is in negotiations with local parking vendors to rent additional space. Bay State also intends to work with Fuss and O'Neill to continue our work on our plans of minimal traffic and parking impact. And then the north end population diversity is considered moderate to high with an average of 14,337 people per square mile with a population of about 9,100 based on 2010. And I believe that is up about 5%, the newest data. Our plan to hire Boston residents, we do again want to take advantage of our social media services and websites. We also want to recruit aggressively within the city, and we want to market and sponsor recruit and citywide cannabis events. Again, we did submit a more comprehensive plan on our diversity plan, which I did go over a couple slides ago, and wage and benefits. Bay State is committed to offering employees a living wage and competitive package benefits to the city of Boston. Again, with the help of our labor management team, we're going to analyze market forces and market trends to make sure we're staying at least competitive and above the market when it comes to employee benefits packages and wages. We did submit a community impact plan that does go over our commitment to helping out people that were disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, and our goal is to get them spun up through mentorship programs and get them back on track into a career in cannabis, as long as following with compliance from the CCC regarding criminal records and working in cannabis. So our community feedbacks, we did submit a North End resident petition, and we did get a commitment from Community Work Services in Boston to help us facilitate some of these goals as far as getting people mentored, getting people trained, and getting people back on track into the workforce. Community Work Services also committed to helping us keep streets and local parks clean. They provide services that Bay State will pay for. One of the big things that we have seen is the worry about loitering, litter, and how parks are going to be treated. So Bay State is committed to ensuring that we do our part to make sure that these things are covered. Safety and security procedures. Bay State does have a comprehensive and robust security plan. There will be approximately 100 cameras installed throughout the facility and on the exterior. The exterior cameras will cover all exteriors and perimeter of the facility and the streets in the sidewalks and public spaces to ensure that we are watching for loitering and potential suspicious activity. Some cameras, depending on location inside the facility, will be fixed. Cameras will be fixed at registers, safes, vaults, limited access areas. So people in and out of these access areas and in high visibility areas will always be on camera when we're doing our work. We will have on-site security personnel. We will have an interlock at the door where customers coming in will have to present their ID. It will get scanned before they're even allowed in the facility. This is also to combat anybody trying to enter the facility that is under 21 years of age or does not have an active ID. Transportation, we will contract a licensed marijuana transportation company whenever we are getting products delivered, or in the event we need to get products sent back to the original destination, whether it be a cultivator or a manufacturer or both. We did submit a comprehensive plan to transfer monies to our financial institution, and we may reserve the right to hire an armored transport company such as a Brinks if need be. If we enter into contracts with delivery service providers, we'll ensure that there is an online store with pre-customer verification before any deliveries are made as well. And that is all we have for our presentation. Again, Bay State did submit a application summary, and we do have full comprehensive plans on everything that we went over as well. Any questions?
Thank you. We will move to questions and comments from the commissioners, starting with Chairwoman Joyce.
Thanks, Jasmine. Shane, thank you for your presentation. I just want to dive into some of the correspondence we received. In the support folder, we have the petition you talked about. How did you go about getting this petition? Where did you walk up and down the street? Was it someplace in a store in the North End? And just trying to figure out where you got your signatures from or how you went about it.
Sure. Liam, if you could answer that one. I don't know if you can hear me. So I can answer. I don't know that he can hear me, but Liam, as well as
can you hear me now?
Yes.
I actually went with Michael, who was sitting behind me,
And we went up and down and asked people if they wanted to sign and interacted with the public on Hanover Street and the surrounding areas.
Okay, and you told them it was about for a cannabis establishment coming to the north end?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's
Okay.
on the cover page too that they would read before they signed.
Okay, just your name is the only name on the cover page, and then the next page is just a list of names.
Yep, we had it in the folder.
Okay.
So
In community work services, that's the other letter of support. Are they located in the north end or? I don't know much about them.
they're on Portland Street. So yes, I believe it is. Right.
They're a Boston community organization, but it's right at the tip of the north end.
Okay. And then Jesse Priestley doesn't give an address, just says local Bostonian. Do you know where?
Some people didn't feel comfortable giving their address, you know.
Okay, so as far as can you tell me a little bit more about the community process? What sort of process you guys undertook for this application?
Sure.
Community meeting, what it was like, what the.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the issues or concerns that we did have is we don't feel that we were able to appropriately reach out to the public after our community meeting. We took a lot of feedback and consideration in. It was very hostile. There were comments, you know, basically Liam himself, he actually went without most of the team because of our community meeting. And again, it was after the community meeting. So they were on foot every weekend. They spoke with the restaurants. A lot of the feedback that we had gotten was folks weren't necessarily opposed to it, but because of how vocal those who are opposed to it, they didn't really want to even give us letters from the companies that were surrounding. The consensus of the public, the residents in the area, they were not opposed. They were actually in support of it, but didn't want to come onto meetings again for certain reasons. I don't believe that we had the support of Councilwoman Collette. We did have a meeting. We requested, myself, Liam, and Shane, we did meet with her. There were no actual like valid concerns that we could address. They were more feeling based. They just don't want us, actually came right out and said that to us in the community. We've sent multiple, before our community meeting, we did go out and flyer as well. We did 2 Zooms. We did one where the residents did show up. They voiced their concerns. We sent out a second one. We believe that we had been kind of stonewalled in the area. No one showed up. And then when we had our community meeting, we were at a max of 100 and people couldn't even get in that were in our support. So I think that was probably our biggest hurdle was, you know, it's a very close knit community. And again, our meeting with the councilwoman was super clear that she had received a lot of dislike or folks that didn't want us in the area. That was very loud in our community meeting as well. So I think that was our biggest hurdle throughout the process.
So the community meeting was September 9th. Did you meet with any of the civic associations? Civic groups?
So we have not. There was Liam, there is a group that reached out to us, but they wanted to, off the top of my, Liam, do you have the name of that group? They wanted us to go in front of them almost so that they could give us like a vote and a recommendation or not. And again, after our community meeting, the public one, we were very, very uncomfortable with how we proceeded with dealing with the public.
So how would you describe the community meeting's opposition? Was it for this location having cannabis? You said, I'm confused because you have said that a lot of people were in support of it, but didn't want to share that publicly. What was shared publicly?
That they just didn't want us in the neighborhood because they weren't from there, quite honestly. There was no actual security concerns. I mean, yes, loitering was brought up. There were, you know, quite honestly, we felt as though we were kind of battling with the legalization aspect of it still. They used the term NIMBY in the meeting with us, which I learned in the community meeting was not in my backyard. The school was a concern. So that was one that we, that was a valid concern that we hired outside resources, which they are here as well. This distance certification, very valid concern that was brought to us, as well as the loitering and security, which we feel, we have a substantial plan for.
And just, can someone address on the record what the distance is from the school? And how that was measured?
Sure. I have Catherine here from Fuss and O'Neill. I don't know if she wants to speak on it. And Matthew is here as well.
Hi, Tiffany. This is Matthew Skelly from Fuss and O'Neill. We hired a surveyor to go out and measure the distance from the Elliott School to the site. And I will go ahead and share my screen. This is a information that some of this information has been conveyed previously. What the surveyor was asked to certify the shortest distance from the school building to the proposed site. When they went out on when they went out to conduct their initial survey, they determined, I'll zoom in a little bit here, hopefully everybody can see. They determined that the shortest, computer's freezing up.
I think it's supposed to be the front door of the school.
So there are two different doors that were eventually measured. So there's a distance on here from A to C and A to B. Hopefully you can see that. The two distances that were measured, the door A to C is what was measured initially. That was measured at 559 feet, and door A to B was measured subsequently at the request of the community to measure the distance down Greenough Lane here. That was measured at 565 feet. Sorry about that. It looks like my computer just jumped here. So this, hopefully you can see a little bit better. Here's the here's the entrance to the dispensary. Here's A to C to this southern door on the school, A to B to this northern door on the school. Here's the distance table here, 559 and 565 feet. There's photos to the each door that was measured are also depicted on here.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
I know Commissioner Lombos has to jump off. Commissioner Lombos, do you have any questions before you have to go?
Yeah, I was, can you just define for me on the employment plan, what living wage and benefits mean? There wasn't any details on there.
Yeah, so again, we did put together a labor management team. It's in-house with not an estimated time of opening it, and the market changing so quickly with wage increases, with inflation, and with possible unionization down the road, workplace organization. We don't have a defined wage set yet, but again, our labor management team is put in place to analyze this, and when it comes time to put that out, we're going to make sure that the trends throughout the market-wide, throughout the city of Boston and the state of Massachusetts is in line with what everybody else is promoting for their benefits and wage packages, and we hope to exceed that as well. So again, we feel it's a little early to put out numbers yet because the market's changing. It's so dynamic, along with inflation, other economic conditions we have to worry about. But again, we do have a labor management team in place to analyze this and make sure that we're keeping that commitment.
Okay, and do you have a plan for, it's pretty vague or doesn't have details of what groups you would be recruiting from or what resources it sounds like you want to recruit from? And
So to be clear, we did submit a full plan. It was about 55 pages long. Obviously, we understand that that's a long plan to go through. So we did submit a refined 8-page plan. So it does not have all the information that we do have. We tried to condense it as much as we could. So everything on the 8-page application summary is not obviously our whole security plan. It's not our whole employment plan. But to get to your question, obviously, you know, with modern technology, we're going to heavily invest in social media. That's a mostly free advertising. We're going to build it out on our website, and we're going to host networking events and contribute to other existing network events if we can. And then again, we're going to work with Boston Community Works, and they're going to help us employ people to help keep the streets clean, the parks clean, and we're partnering with them to create a mentorship and training program to build out for cannabis retail. And again, that's all in our detailed plans.
Ma'am, in addition, we're also in the process of talking with local billboards that are in areas of disproportion deemed by the CCC as well as Boston, so that when we do have, we could use Easy Hire, which is a cannabis known hiring company, as well as Edwin Pivinger. He's here to help us with staffing and you know, making sure that we target and recruit from these demographics that we've promised.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Holmes, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Your security plan is very vague, and I was just trying to go back through where you say this long thing you submitted that I don't see on ours. So I'd like to know who you will be using as far as security, what types of things other than the boilerplate language that is required by CCC, and what will you be doing to mitigate unwanted buyers and stuff like that?
Yes, ma'am. To answer questions, we'll be hiring an in-house security team. They will be a licensed agent with the CCC. Ideally, obviously, with any hiring process, we're going to look for people that do have backgrounds in security, professional aspects like that. Our security plan is about 30 pages long fully.
I got nothing but time.
Okay, that's fine. So as far as the boilerplate talking points, I mean, this is a highly regulated field, especially on the security side. So a lot of those talking points are pretty robust. We could get into any specifics that you'd like to talk about. I forgot what your third part was, so I can answer it properly.
Well, I would like to see your full security, because just to tell me you're going to have on-site security, build and protect security, protect you. I want to know how you're doing all this. I want to know who you're using for transportation and delivery. I want to know who you're using for transportation of money. I want to know how you're IDing. I want to know what you're doing to prevent missed sales or misuse. So we need to see more than just bullet points. And I did look through the rest of your stuff to see if there was a longer one, and I don't see it.
Sure. So, ma'am, we can, if I can forward that over to you right now, it was sent back.
Well, you
to
can
us. It was
send it
too
to the
long.
board later. Yeah, no,
Okay.
you can present it. We have time to vote, so you
Sure.
can send that all in so we can have that when we go to prepare for our vote.
Absolutely. I will tell you that half of Liam's team, our background is law enforcement. We have over 100 years combined on his team. I've worked for the state of Rhode Island prison system for 16 years. I was a lieutenant. Shane was a lieutenant. John Terry, our chief security officer, I can kind of let him speak a little bit, but we will be using, there are only 2 licensed transporters at the moment, which would be either Eagle Eyes or Plymouth Armor that we would contract with. We've had several Zoom meetings with them already. They are also, we would use somebody like Brinks, but they are licensed as well to transport the cash as well for us. As far as the security, the checkpoints, we are very familiar with the two identifications. One would be outside, the next one will be at the purchase. We gave the 100 cameras because that puts us in compliance with the 4x4 square footage that, we're not sure if it's 100, but we'll be sure that we have the fisheye cameras, live feed. The other thing is I did request a meeting with the Boston PD, very infancy in our process, just unfamiliar with the way that the city does do it. We had wanted to sit down and talk with the police department, which would be obviously, if we're approved, our next step. We would like to have duress alarms inside. On the previous agenda a few minutes ago, we talk about folks being robbed outside or inside, and that is where, we will have the presence of trained. Again, we are going to try and hire retired law enforcement for these positions. So even though it's not required, we don't want to treat it like a nightclub where it's just a bouncer, because we understand the value of the product inside. We've studied the trends. For instance, Washington State that we've come back from, we understand, there are deaths inside of dispensaries in the future. There are a lot of, there's not a lot, but there has been crime, but it can be mitigated based on that security plan. And so we are willing to be as detailed as we need to. I think the biggest thing is the cameras, the loitering, the presence. I know number one is presence. After that, everybody will be trained again on communications, what we need to do. We need to have a direct plan with the police department in the event that something happens. Our folks know what incidents require an incident report. They know what incidents require that, the police are called immediately. So these are all things that we will train extensively over time with. And Johnny, did I
All that
miss?
stuff you told me, Miss Array, that is perfect. And that's what you need to have in writing. You need to have all that detailed out. That what you just told me was absolutely perfect. So that's the type of stuff you need to have written out and seen in your security plans.
Absolutely. I will send that over, Jasmine. Right after this, I'll get it to you. It's completed. So I'll send that so you guys do have that. And if you have any questions, we can meet again and go over it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, do you have any questions?
Can you hear me, Jasmine?
I can hear you.
Thank you. I was actually along the same lines of Commissioner Lombos, just thinking about how many folks you guys are planning to hire, the 8, 10, 15. I know you have the percentage breakdown and all that, and also like the pay scale. And how are you going to measure? You talked about measuring, but you weren't really clear about how you're going to measure all these different programs that you have. Like if some of them don't work, we'll reassess and that kind of thing. So just thinking along those lines, if you could just address that a little bit.
Sure. So our labor management team, if you can think of that as like a multifaceted team that consists of somebody from the governing body, the municipality, supervisory level of our organization, as well as somebody from the community, and hopefully somebody from our community work services, our partnerships. So what we would do is when we say these measurements and goals, quarterly, we will meet. Monthly, we will take in, we're sending out, we're paying in marketing, we're putting these billboards up, we're doing these networking events, but we're not bringing in the demographics or who we thought we would be reaching. What's next? How do we do that? So the same way that a college would do recruitment, the same way that a city or a state would do recruitment, as far as making sure that we reach out, that we are showing up, that, we're boots on the ground people. In the cannabis space, it's a very close network, it's within the state. So we would need to make sure that we do partner with the right folks as far as, to do these, having that checks and balance system. As far as the pay scale goes, we do, like Shane mentioned a little earlier, we've kind of gone by what's out there, like the Indeeds or just the Google searches and just going from dispensary to dispensary and seeing, hey, what are you guys being paid? We know that we have a labor intensive industry that we're coming into. We know that the unions, myself, most of us are labor backgrounds and coming from union backgrounds. It might be a little, as entrepreneurs, it's difficult, but we understand the importance of that. So that is something that, you know, we've discussed. We have not committed to yet, because our belief is that if we pay people right, the working conditions are right. For instance, you talk about like the Starbucks. The staff have opted out of those union options because their employees are doing them right. So we plan to, you know, our principal, Malik Hyatt, he has many years of business background. So one thing that Liam is not walking into this is with no help. He has a partner, again, with extensive background of successful companies. So these are things that we hope to rely on his expertise and their resources to help us. But that's essentially a little bit on how we plan to stay on track.
Thank you, Ms. Arias.
No problem, sir.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, we will move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representatives.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Sierra D'Amico with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. For some background information, a public meeting was facilitated on September 28th by my office, in which the community and direct residents did voice their comments and concerns about the overall proposal in regards to the location, it being close to a Boston public school, the Elliott Lower School, where young children walk back and forth through daily. Concerns about already having a cannabis dispensary in walking distance that already delivers, and the security reasons. Our office also always highly requests and encourages applicant to meet and present in front of the civic groups, in which the applicant did not, and they did not receive any notice back from the civic groups. Those groups being the North End Resident Association and the North End Waterfront Neighborhood Council. Office received many calls, comments, and emails, directly 43 letters of opposition and 1 letter of support. At this time, our office would like to defer to the board's judgment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. Patrick Lyons from Rep. Micklewick's office.
Hello, Chairman Joyce, Commissioners, thank you for your time. Patrick Lyons on behalf of State Representative Aaron Mikowitz. We'd like to go on the record in strong opposition of this proposal based off location, located right in the middle between one of our public schools and one of our recreational facilities with Langone Park and the Marabella Pool, and also citing a severe lack of community outreach from the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other elected officials or their representatives that would like to speak?
Good afternoon, board. I'm here on behalf of Councilor Coletta. I'm Jack and Bergamo, North End Liaison. Councilor Coletta in my office has not received any letters in support of this proposed establishment. We have received hundreds of letters in opposition and phone calls as well. And Bay State Herbal Solutions has failed to provide any correspondence of support, and Gabrielle is opposed to this establishment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other elected officials or their representatives? Seeing none, we will move to public testimony. Allison is going to go through the names of those who signed up to testify. If you would like to testify, please use the link that's in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we will call on you as we see them. Allison.
Thanks, Jasmine. The first person to sign up was Mr. Adam Griffith. Griffith of 420 Commercial Street. If you're available, Mr. Griffith, please proceed.
Hi, Allison.
Before you do, sorry, I just want to reiterate, you will have 2 minutes to speak, and please state your name and address.
Yes, ma'am. Adam Griffith, 420 Commercial Street. Good afternoon, board. My name is Adam Griffith. I'm representing our family as 3rd-generation business and property owners here in the North End. Our office is located at 420 Commercial and 479 Hanover Street. Our family's been here for over 70 years. Directly across from the proposed location, we also own 19 Greeno Lane, which is directly to the rear of the proposed location, and 3 other buildings considered butters. We strongly oppose a dispensary at this location. It's on the corner of the busiest street in the neighborhood. There is no consumer parking or parking for the delivery vehicle. The traffic hazards and danger to public safety would be catastrophic. The applicant has never produced a traffic study, which frankly, we don't need anyway, since we're here every day, and cited a previous 7-Eleven as a means of comparison. Changes since the 7-Eleven closes, and there is now only one eastbound lane on Commercial Street, which is on the same side of the location. All the parallel walk signals in the city, the school bus idling directly in front, and the already behind schedule 5-year project on the North Washington Street Bridge. Our property is already significantly impacted by illegal parking, and a dispensary would be devastating to our business. There will be cars double parked, cars on the sidewalk, cars on our property, cars everywhere. Furthermore, the attitude and condescension that the applicants displayed on the community outreach call, as well as the construction work that's been done without a permit in the proposed location, give us no faith that they will be a good neighbor. Frankly, there's been so many things on this call that the applicant fabricated. Frankly, it's appalling. There are numerous other reasons that this is a terrible location for a dispensary, but I'll let our neighbors speak to those. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak.
Okay, next is Elizabeth Goss. I hope I said that right. My apologies if I didn't.
No, you did. My name is Elizabeth Goss. I am the other commercial unit owner at 456 Hanover Street, where right next to the proposed dispensary site. I'm a woman-owned business. I've been in business for 28 years. We are majority female. We have many Latino representatives in our Latino, Black, we're DEI supportive. We work with the Chelsea Collaborative. We train and educate high school students here in our office. And with the dispensary next door, my concern is that we will no longer be able to host some of the people that we do train and educate. In addition, dealing with vulnerable populations, we are an immigration law firm. And one of the things I can tell you that we're planning on doing within the next couple of months is we're planning on doing a lot of work for the Safe Communities Act. The people that we serve, the people that are the base of my business, would be extremely reticent about coming to a location where there is security and cameras. Although, I have no problem with cannabis, or any of this, but it is still not legal under federal law, and immigration is federal law. And my clients are subject to federal law. They don't have the same rights, unfortunately, as residents and citizens. And even, we know from talking to our clients that they would be very concerned about coming to this location. In addition, as a property owner, on the board of trustees, we did have a vote, and we have an amendment to, and I think our attorney is on the list as well to speak. So I won't go too much into that, but we've already voted to exclude to exclude this type of business within our property. I had prepared remarks, but I didn't use them because of the few things that were said that were false. So, for example, as Adam said, I was on that neighborhood meeting. There was not one person who rose in support. Nobody from the neighborhood ever said.
That was your 2 minutes. You can submit additional in writing. Thank you.
Okay, next is Andrew Lamb. Mr. Lamb, if you're available. Okay, Mr. Lamb, I'll come back to you. I'm going to move on to Edmund Alcock.
Good afternoon. My name is Edmund Alcock. I am an attorney. My office is in Braintree. I represent the Harborview Suites Condominium Trust, which is the organization of unit owners for the condominium building, which is located at 464 Hanover Street. What I want everybody to understand is this entire building is a condominium building. There are 26 residential units, 2 commercial units. You heard from Ms. Goss, who owns one of the commercial units. The other unit is where the proposed use is. In the first instance, we respectfully submit that this is not an appropriate location for this use. We have no issue with marijuana dispensaries. We appreciate the equity involvement, but there is a deed restriction, a legal lawful deed restriction prohibiting this use in the building. What a lot of people don't understand, what I don't think the applicant understands, is that in a condominium, everybody owns the building. So they've chosen a building where 27 of the 28 owners do not want this use, do not approve of this use. They don't want it and don't approve of it because a lot of the residents have young children. As I think we saw from the proposal, there's a bus stop right in front of the building, which is why they have this proposal to close the location during on and off times. The other issue in a condominium building is they're proposing to make changes to the exterior of the building, sort of interior common elements, and they don't have a unilateral right to do any of this. They need board permission, and that permission has not been forthcoming. More importantly, we respectfully submit it's just not an appropriate location.
Mr. Edmund, that is your 2 minutes.
Mark Sorrento, if you're available, you can start. Mr. Sorrento? Okay, we'll move on to Pauline Carpenter, if you're available.
Hi, I'm sorry, my camera is not working, but Pauline Carpenter, I live at 464 Hanover Street. And I've lived here for over 20 years. I'm the longest standing resident in the building. And my issues, I have all the neighborhood issues, but I have extremely personal issues as well. As you've heard, there's only one owner in this building who approves of the use, and that is the owner of that unit. I have had multiple conversations on the street with Mr. Bennett. I have not found him completely honest. I haven't felt that there has been any outreach in my building. I live feet away from it and was not contacted previously. All they did was tape things to the doors. I will say that on one of the community calls that they proposed, the link was broken. That's why there was no community representatives. And on the larger call, there was no one for the dispensary. I've yet to encounter anyone that has signed the petition. I've yet to find a business who's in support of the dispensary. And I'd love to know where those names came from. And the final thing I just have to ask, I know we've discussed the distance and the regulations. I would like to see that law because the way I read it, it was a radius of 500 feet, and that would not be proven by your studies. I think that's it. Oh, and also this building has had its own very difficult issues. We had construction issues and we were all evacuated for 10 months. We came back to the building and COVID hit. This building has struggled to develop our own.
Hi, Pauline, that was your 2 minutes.
Daniel Passacantilli, if you'd like to proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Dan Passacantilli. I'm a resident of the North End, and I lived on that block of Hanover Street for 65 years. And not to be redundant, but parking is going to be a major issue for that establishment. The school buses double park there from September to June. It's going to be a logistical nightmare. And one of the other things I'd like to express, this is not about a not in my backyard issue. This community voted in favor of marijuana. This is about the location. This location couldn't be the most undesirable location to put a marijuana shop. It's right up the street from the Elliott School that's been previously mentioned. It's right near the Langone Park where the kids from the fall to from the spring to the fall walk by that dispensary. We'll be walking by that dispensary to go to the North End Park, to go to Marabella Pool. It's just not in the best interest of the neighborhood to have this establishment. Then again, you got the fire station that's right up the street. It's gonna be a logistical nightmare with their transportation issues, picking up money. They said there's parking. There's no parking there. There's 2 visitors parking on Hanover Street in that block, and that's all there is. It's gonna be a nightmare. And one of the other things I want to just, hopefully I have time, the meeting that we had with the owners, it wasn't really a hostile meeting. It was people that were very passionate about not having that location as a dispensary. So that will conclude my testimony, and thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, next we have Tania Green. Ms. Green, if you're available.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. And thank you to the board for asking really great questions as well. Thank you. I'm a North End resident. I serve on the North End Waterfront Neighborhood Council. It's been said before that this group was invited to come before the board just to share information, to receive public feedback. They did not respond. They have not come before us. A couple of things. The condo, it's puzzling to me how this is still a conversation when the condo association has said and voted that they do not want this group in their building. I'm not sure how legally this could even move forward. It's puzzling to me. On top of that, I share the issues of security. I share issues for concern, close proximity to the school, that the North End is very much a distinct neighborhood. It is a community and tight-knit community in a big major Eastern Seaboard city. And it is unique in that way. There are children all around, there are schools all around, there are churches all around. The Nazaro Center is close by. It is, this is not the right location for this group. On top of that, traffic concerns as well. Where will people park? Yet again, North End residents are displaced because of commerce. And I'm concerned for North End residents. I speak personally, these are my personal opinions. I'm not representing Nunic when I speak here, but I have talked to
Tanya, that is your 2 minutes.
Jack Imbergamo, if you are available, please proceed. Okay, I can circle back in to check if you're available. Sarah Wharton, if you're available, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the board and all of those in attendance. My name is Sarah Wharton. I am a resident of the North End. I live at 99 Fulton Street, Unit 66. We've been in this unit for less than a year, but we've been in the neighborhood for 6. I do have 2 children at the Elliott. My background is reflecting some of the discussions we've had. Don't mind my mirroring. This right here is the proposed location, and these are some of the school buses for those on the board who are curious. That have been mentioned several times. They literally line up right in front. There has been some concern about that. I want to say I have no problem with the legalization of cannabis. The concern, again, as another resident mentioned, is more surrounding this particular location. We do, in fact, have 2 locations that we can reach within 10 minutes, both by North Station and then on Milk Street. And in addition, both of those are in a less family and resident dense area. It is more businesses, it is less foot traffic, and it does not have the density of tourism. There was a lot of opposition on the meeting, and I just wanted to clarify what felt like misrepresentation, that it was just the neighborhood disliking outsiders. It's not the old North End like on TV that everyone likes to joke about all the time. While there is a sense of community, there's concerns about this being a family neighborhood. The issues of whether or not it's 500, 501. There has been disputes about the distance being well under the 500 foot that we've been told, ask the applicant, which feels a little crazy, like letting the applicants decide if it's far enough. But beside that, the concerns about the school. There's been concerns about the traffic, the parking situation, the proximity of the tourists. Were they the ones who are on this petition? Because I can't tell you anyone in the neighborhood who was approached to write the petition. And overall, the applicant keeps saying that there was so much opposition, but people are in favor. If they're so in favor, then why aren't they willing to come and speak in your favor? I know my time's running short, so I'm trying to jam it all in.
Thank you.
That was your 2 minutes.
Sorry. Laura Chassain, sorry if I'm saying that wrong. If you're available and you would like to make a comment, please proceed.
Hi, thank you so much for the chance to speak. I'll be brief. I just wanted to reiterate some of what Sarah said. My name is Laura Chassain. I live at 26 Green Street in Charlestown. I have one child at the Elliott School, so we spend a lot of time in the North End, you know, crisscrossing the neighborhood. She does take the bus home often, so she's often lining up, you know, exactly where Sarah mentioned. I'm not opposed to the legalization of cannabis at all, or, you know, private personal consumption. My concern is that as someone with asthma and as a parent of a child who has suspected asthma and has reactive lungs, I believe that the location of this dispensary in such a dense neighborhood where so many people will be walking to the location and then leaving on foot means that we will have a lot of people partaking of their purchases, you know, in the Prado, in the local parks, and all the school children actually get dropped off and picked up in the Prado. It's a very dense and well-used area of the city, and a place that families and children have to be. They have no choice about being there. And I feel that there's going to be a lot of smoke that will be unavoidable for people who do not want to be exposed to that. I'm not sure how this location was chosen. And as Sarah said, I think there's other neighborhoods where, you know, there's a lot less foot traffic. It's less close to schools that contain hundreds of children, and children can often be prone to asthma and lung issues and should have a choice whether they're exposed to that smoke. Thank you so much for the chance to speak.
Sure. Next, Vito Amarelli, if you're available, please feel free to make your comments.
Hello, hopefully you can hear me there. I'm Vito Amarelli, 440 Commercial Street. And even though I'm opposed to the location, I really can't add anything to what everybody else has already said as far as why to be opposed. But I really have two questions. They mentioned the distance between the facility and the school, but not the facility and the playground that's on Commercial Street or the military establishment, which is across the street. The Coast Guard is considered a military establishment. So I don't know the difference between city, state, federal rules as far as a military establishment. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Amarelli. Matthew Garvey, if you are available, please.
I'm here. Thank you for the time. 23-year resident, 19 years in the building. Everyone's taken all my points, but I appreciate the residents speaking up, and I appreciate you guys, the board, giving us the opportunity. One thing that Pauline was going to mention that she got cut off is a few years ago, the residents in the building unexpectedly were evacuated for 10 months because of some structural damage. Insurance didn't cover this, so we were responsible for paying our condo fees as well as finding new places to live. We took a really, really big hit. We had to come up with thousands of dollars individually up front, and then subsequently our condo fees each have gone up about 3 times. The concern I think some of the residents have, or me in particular, is that is our homeowners insurance going to go up now that we have an establishment like that downstairs? Again, we've really, really taken a hit, and I appreciate the board's consideration when reviewing that. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to go back through those who were not available to see if you'd like to provide comment. Mr. Andrew Lamb, if you are available, please proceed. Okay, how about Mark Sorrento? Or Jack Imbergamo? Okay, with that concludes all the folks who signed up online to provide comment. Thank you.
I want to speak.
Okay.
Please state your name and address.
I submitted a request in writing and I submitted it through chat before the hearing began. My name is Richard Vida. I live at 369 Hanover Street. I'm an attorney. I grew up in the North End. I'm a longtime resident, and I'm also the president of Italian Heritage Month for Massachusetts. Let me, in view of all the comments, make a couple of points to the board. So I want to run down the cumulative locations we think should be given great weight by the board. There is Langone Ballpark, a very large multi-field facility that's probably 50 yards away. It's highly used by the children and their families in the North End, and the far majority of them go in the direction of the dispensary. You have, in addition to the Elliott School, right there, the North End Music and Performing Arts Center, which primarily is teaching music and performing arts to young children. They have multiple locations, and parents and caretakers are constantly taking them there. Right across the street, right there, 500 or so feet, you have St. John's Church. You go up another 200 feet or so, and you have St. Leonard's Church. You then, right nearby, within 200 feet, you have Sacred Heart Church. These churches are attracted, of course, the residents and the families attend, and also many of the tourists. The point I'd like to make here with regard to the complete failure.
Richard, that was your 2 minutes.
Okay, we've had a couple more people sign up online. So Mary O'Neill, if you would like to make a comment, please proceed.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Thank you for your thoughtful questions. My name is Mary O'Neill. I'm a resident of the North End. I'm a Dorchester native. I've lived in the North End for almost as long as I lived in Dorchester, about 20 years. And I live at 32 Charter Street, previously at another address on this street, which is just around the corner from the proposed location, just down the street from the Elliott School. You've heard from many people talking about the distance to the Elliott School, and I would just note that whatever the distance, I think that it seems clear in the cannabis regulations that there is something special about elementary schools. And that is certainly something that this board should consider. And I would ask that you, partly based on that, deny this application. Whether it's 500 feet, whether it's 510 feet, children are throughout the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening when other activities are happening, surrounding the school, surrounding after school programs, surrounding the North End Music Performing Arts Center after school programs. Kids are in this neighborhood all the time, in the weekdays, on the weekends. I'll tell you, I haven't gone away for 2 years, and so I've been in the neighborhood quite a lot, day in and day out. I have no idea who these people spoke to, because I've been on Hanover Street multiple times, every single day of every single weekend in the past couple of years. I have never seen these people. Nobody's asked me or anybody that I've been with about whether they have thoughts about this establishment here. So I really don't know who we're talking to. I would just note quickly, as was mentioned, there are many parks that are steps away from this proposal. And what's going to happen, because of the absence of parking, because of the nature of activities in our neighborhood, that there's so much foot traffic, is people are going to walk out the door from making purchases, and they're going to walk into Reno Lane, which is actually a playground. They're going to walk into the Prado, where kids are playing day in, day out, whether it's a school day or whether it's not. They're going to walk over to Commercial Street, where we have a very vibrant activity at the Langone Fields, where there's a brand new playground, where
Mary, that is your 2 minutes.
Ms. Coraine McGinn, if you would like to make a comment, you can proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Corin McGinn. I'm an attorney based in Braintree, Massachusetts, and I work with the tenant in this case. And while I appreciate people's concerns about change in a neighborhood, I'd like to address some of the issues that have been raised here. First, there's this concern about cannabis. Cannabis is legal in Massachusetts, and just because people buy cannabis doesn't mean they're going to rush out the door and start smoking it. Just like when people buy cigarettes, they don't rush out the door. When they buy alcohol, they don't rush out the door and sit on the steps and smoke it. So I think that while I appreciate its concern because this is a new industry, I think I would respectfully suggest that that might be overstated. Obviously, you know, people can't be allowed to be smoking on the street, particularly around young children, but people do smoke cigarettes around young children all the time. It's still illegal to smoke cannabis in the street, even if you've purchased it legally. You know, this was a busy 7-Eleven before our suggested use. So this is not a new thing to this location. The next issue is parking. Well, it's the North End. Parking is always an issue, you know, but restaurants and the residents have dealt with it for years. This is just another commercial use in a commercially allowed space. And so, as I said before, it's walking distance to public transportation, but when it was a 7-Eleven, and I know things may have changed since then, but this is just progress. This is what happens when you have a commercial space. It's going to be used for commercial space. I mean, the alternative is that it gets turned back into a residential space. Well, nobody suggested that that's happening. Third, I'd like to talk about the amendment to the condo documents. In our opinion, that amendment was forced through after we had a valid lease in place. Therefore, it unlawfully, in our opinion, it unlawfully takes the property of both the property owner and of the tenant. There's been a lot of money spent on this, and they suddenly decide after the fact that they don't like a particular use. Well, where does that stop? So you can't just come in after there's a lease in place and say, we don't like that, go away. So we don't think that will stand up in the long run. And finally, you know, it's come to our attention. Frankly, the public meeting was quite contentious, but it has come to our attention that the building is in financial stress. And part of, we've called them, there will be a meeting in the next few weeks, and part of that is to try to understand how this business may be able to help with that building, contributing towards those expenses. We want to be a good neighbor, but you know, we haven't had the chance to be. Thank you very much.
And with that, that concludes all of the folks who have signed up to provide public comment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Allison. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this proposal that hasn't had a chance to speak? Seeing no one, do the board members have any additional questions they would like to ask? No. So seeing no additional requests to speak, the board will take this matter under advisement. Those were all our matters before the board today. The board's voting meeting will take place next Wednesday, December 14th at 1 p.m. The information to access the voting hearing will be on our website, boston.gov/cannabis. Again, the record will be kept open until next Tuesday, December 13th at 5 p.m. Thank you all for attending and enjoy the rest of your evening.